All right, let's dive right in. We're going to talk about one of the toughest and, let's be honest, most important parts of being a parent, navigating the wild, unpredictable world of toddler emotions. If you have ever felt completely lost trying to handle a tiny human's giant feelings, you are in the right place. Does this sound familiar? I mean, one second it's all sticky kisses and hugs, and the next there's a full-blown meltdown on the floor because you handed them the blue cup instead of the red one. It's a universal experience, for sure.
And here is the absolute most important thing to get right from the very beginning. You are so not alone in this. And what feels like them just being defiant, it's actually a totally normal biological part of them growing up. So let's try to shift our mindset here away from frustration and more towards understanding.
So that brings us right to our first section, big feelings, little bodies. Let's start by just painting a picture of some of those, classic toddler moments. Yeah? Do any of these ring a bell? That epic meltdown in the candy aisle? The nightly battle over just one more story? The absolute outrage because a puzzle piece just won't fit? These are those moments, right? When these huge feelings completely hijack their little bodies. But why does that happen? Well, to answer that, we have to actually look inside their developing brains. And that brings us to section 2, where we're going to get into the science of why these emotional explosions happen in the first place. Okay, this comparison is so helpful. Think about a toddler's brain like a super fast sports car. Their feeling brain, that's the temporal lobe, is a massive, powerful engine that's been running full throttle since the day they were born. But their thinking brain, the frontal lobe, that's the braking system, and it is completely under construction. I mean, it won't be finished until their mid-20s. And this really gets to the heart of it. It's not that they won't listen to you when they're upset. It's that they biologically, literally, can't. That emotional engine is just revving at full speed, and they just don't have the brakes yet to slow it down. This isn't a choice they're making. It's just neuroscience. So, now that we kind of get the why, let's talk about what to do. Welcome to Section 3, your emotional first aid kit. What can you actually do when you're right there in the heat of the moment? Let's open it up and see what's inside. Okay, the first and most important tool in this whole kit is something called co-regulation. The science is pretty cool here. Our nervous systems can actually sync up. So when you're stressed, they get stressed. But when you can manage to stay calm, you become their anchor. You actually help their little nervous system calm down too. Your calm is literally contagious. So how do you do it? Well, it's a pretty simple 3-step process. First, and this is by far the hardest part, you have to regulate yourself. Take a breath. Tell yourself, this is normal. Second, get down on their physical level. Looking down at them is intimidating. Eye contact is connection. And third, just be there. Offer your calm presence. Don't jump into a lecture. Regulation first. Teaching comes later. All right, the next tool in our kit is called Name-It-to-Tame-It, and it is an absolute game changer. This idea comes from Dr. Dan Siegel, and it's actually backed up by brain scans. So when you put a word to a huge feeling, you help fire up their logical thinking brain, and that helps calm down the feeling brain. You're not fixing the problem for them. You're just showing them you see them. So instead of stop crying, you could say, wow, this puzzle is so frustrating, or you seem really angry that playtime is over. Just naming the feeling makes them feel seen and understood, and that's often the very first step toward calming down. Now, let's touch on a classic, the timeout. A lot of us grew up with it. But what if we tried a different approach for this age? Something called a time-in. Just look at the goals here. A timeout is about stopping a behavior by sending them away. A time-in is about teaching a better way by staying close. When a toddler is totally overwhelmed, sending them away alone doesn't teach them how to handle their feelings. It just leaves them feeling isolated when they need you the most. And the main idea behind all of these tools is summed up perfectly in this one phrase. This can be your mantra. It's okay to be mad. It's not okay to hit. You're sending a super clear message. All your feelings are okay, but not all your actions are. This teaches them that emotions aren't bad things, but that we have to learn how to express them in safe ways. All right, so we've got our tools, right? Co-regulation, naming the feeling, and choosing connection. Now for section 4, let's put these tools into action. Let's see how this all works together in a real life situation. Remember that meltdown we talked about? You're at the checkout, your toddler sees the candy, you say no, and boom, the screaming starts. The old way might be to get angry or embarrassed. Let's try the new way. So here's your step-by-step plan. First, You co-regulate. You stay calm. Then you kneel down. You use Name-It-to-Tame-It. You're so angry right now. Then you validate their feeling but hold the boundary. I know it's okay to be upset, but we're not buying candy today. And then once the storm starts to pass, you reconnect with a hug. You didn't give in, but you did guide them through the emotion. And this isn't just about surviving the grocery store, right? This leads us to our final section, building a resilient mind. What you're doing in these little, tough moments has a huge long-term impact. You are quite literally helping to shape your child's brain. We know that these toddler years, especially around 2 or 3 years old, are just a period of massive brain development. The connections they're making right now are the building blocks for their entire emotional future. And this right here is the biggest takeaway. Every single time you co-regulate, every time you name a feeling for them, you are helping to build and strengthen the pathways between their feeling brain and their thinking brain. You're giving them the tools they'll need for their whole life. And the payoff for all this hard work? It is immense. You're not just getting fewer tantrums today. You are nurturing better coping skills, higher self-esteem, and a rock-solid bond with your child that's going to last a lifetime. So when you're down on the floor in the middle of a tantrum and you feel like you're failing, please remember this. This phase, it will pass. The intensity will fade. But the lessons in empathy and connection you are teaching them right now, those are forever. So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. The next time you're in a challenging moment, big or small, how can you just pause and choose to connect with the feeling that's underneath the behavior before you jump to correcting the action?